This podcast is being sponsored by the Rise Up Project.
Trust the process. Pain is power. All great things take time. I am unbreakable. Unbreakable.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unbreakables Podcast, episode 11. I am your host, Jay, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the CEO and co-founder of HEALTH-ADE Kombucha Beverage Company, top 100 female founders of Inc. magazine, BevNet's Person of the Year, founded in 2012, distributed to over 18,000 retailers in every state to date. HEALTH-ADE Kombucha is not only a healthy, great tasting drink, however, a successful brand and a successful beverage company. Featured on Forbes, Business Insider Inc., Mindbodygreen. I've been a huge fan of kombucha for many years now, and this is a huge milestone for the Unbreakables podcast. Please help me welcome Daina Trout. I hope I said your name
Thank
right.
you. You said it perfectly. Thank you. What a nice intro.
No, thank you so much. So like I mentioned earlier, I just want to say thank you again for coming on the Unbreakables podcast. And the purpose of the show is really just to dive into inspiring people like yourself. But we understand you have reached, you brought your company to a level of success as well as yourself, but it's really diving into the mindset, into your adversities, your trials, your failures, to understand what really led you to where you are today, as well as your company. So what I like to do for every interview, I like to take it back just a little bit, just for our viewers at home, get a little more understanding of who you were before HEALTH-ADE Kombucha.
Cool. Like in my career though, right? Not like back at the beginning?
No, it doesn't have to really go back, but more so if we can get to know you a little bit and just kind of understand who you were behind the brand, and then we'll slowly transition into what led you into starting HEALTH-ADE.
Sure. Yeah, so I think as an individual, I've always been an entrepreneur or poised to be an entrepreneur my whole life. I just didn't really know it until I started HEALTH-ADE. So as a kid, that looked like, for sure, I always wanted to win at everything I did. I was a self-starter. I was never afraid of the work it took to do something or to accomplish something. And so I excelled in school and in sports, but I also feel like, that just meant that, I was good at school sports, but I feel like the entrepreneur part is more the feeling of really liking autonomy. Mm-hmm. And being okay without structure, almost liking breaking the rules a little bit or breaking outside of convention. So, as a young person, I think it made me sometimes insecure because I always felt like I didn't fit in. But now I look back and see that difference in me was very much supposed to be there, and that it's something now I embrace. Now, when I see something that tells me, oh, you have, more autonomy than 98% of the population. As a kid, if I was told that, I think I would have seen that as, oh, that makes me different or weird. Like, why am I like that? Whereas now I'm like, sweet, there's less than 2% of people out there like me. So it's just a matter of perspective, same thing. But as a person, I think I've just always been poised to be that way. And I didn't really realize it until now. And I look back and I think, man, I wish I could have known that sooner. Because I think the only thing I would have done differently in my life is started business sooner. And before HEALTH-ADE, I really had nothing to do with business, nothing to do with beverage. There was no one on the team that really did in the beginning. It was a real act of just three entrepreneurs that didn't know it yet on their first path to start a business together. So I don't know if that helps to answer that.
Absolutely. I really love your story, especially because I know prior to you starting HEALTH-ADE, you came from corporate America, right? Typical 9-to-5 job. And I know you started the business with your husband, your best friend. And I feel like your story is so fascinating because it kind of reminds me a little bit of myself and my journey with starting the Unbreakables podcast. You know, I come from corporate America, been employed for 9 years, have a great job. I'm successful, but I'm not really fulfilled inside. So I really want to take it back a little bit to that moment when you're having that conversation and you felt that, I guess you can say, entrepreneurial itch, you know, and really talk about that time of unfulfillment. Like, how did you know, like, one, what product you wanted to develop, two, that there was something that needed to be done, whether it was taking a risk, trusting your gut, your intuition to say, you know what, I want to leave my comfort zone, get out of my comfort zone and take a leap of faith. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. You know, for me, it wasn't really a moment. It was a series of moments. It was almost like a continued, as if you were like turning the volume up on a record player. Like, it just basically was a voice within saying, like, there's more out there for you. You know, this is not what you were supposed to do. Like, it just ate at me on the inside, this feeling that I wanted to be at the top and lead. That was my driving force. And I was never going to get there where I was. I worked for a company with 100,000 people. And I was like, definitely in the bottom tier, you know? And I just didn't like being there. And I kept sort of asking myself, how do I work my way up to the very top? That was all I wanted to do. And it really became clear that the only way to do that was to start something. And the thing in my way really was confidence and like not knowing how to do it. So yeah, for me, it was just a feeling that just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I eventually talked to my best friend and husband about it, as you would, and they were feeling equally unfulfilled in their jobs. So we just happened to be in this like same place at the same time. The three of us, again, never having seen it before or done it before, we just had this drive to start something, and each of us had a different reason. So for me, I really wanted to lead a team of people. I knew I had it in me. I also wanted to do something I could like really be proud of. Like, I wanted to leave a mark, something that was mine and that I could contribute to the world. And even more inspiring to me was to inspire others to be like their best selves. Like, that really inspired me. And I was always good at that, friend to friend, like inspiring a friend to be her best self or his best self. But I wanted to do that to more people, to a larger audience. So that was my drive. Justin and Vanessa had their own individual drives, but they were business drives. Like, they were definitely drives to start a business versus a product. It's not like I came from a place that I was like, I have been drinking kombucha for 40 years and gosh darn it, kombucha is going to be the solution. It really was the drive to start a company and a business for us. Kombucha happened to be the vehicle. Now, kombucha isn't completely out of left field. We picked kombucha for several reasons, but I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, just to finish that point, it wasn't really a moment. It was a series of moments, and it was over time. And we decided to do it when I basically, like, I couldn't do anything but listen to that inner voice. Like, it was getting to the point where I was in tears, you know, more than a few times a week because I was feeling so unfulfilled, even though I had a lot to be happy with in my life. So it's really a personal thing of just knowing you're not in the right place and listening to that voice. So we started an entrepreneur club when I shared that with my team, and they felt the same way, my team, my best friend and my husband. We started an entrepreneur club, and we got together every Saturday and discussed, because we still had our jobs. So we discussed on the weekends, you know, what business would we start if we were going to even think of something? And we came up with all kinds of ideas. You know, really wasn't specific or related to food necessarily. It was all about making a business that would be successful, that we could be proud of, that would have employees and people we could lead. And so that's, serendipitously, we ended up on kombucha for a number of reasons. But I had been making kombucha for a long time. I had been making kombucha for a good 20 years at that point. I loved kombucha, but Justin and Vanessa didn't necessarily. So it wasn't, again, like the passion for me. I have passion for food and real food and healthy food, but it wasn't like that started the business. It was the drive to start a business that started the business, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So what advice can you give our entrepreneurs, or let's just say aspiring entrepreneurs that are maybe stuck in corporate America, but maybe feel internally that there's something more, something bigger than them, whether it's a product and or service that they have in mind, but they're afraid to jump, afraid to take that risk. Maybe it's a lack of confidence, the lack of resources, the lack of capital. What advice can you give that person?
Well, I'll just say that, I don't like to give advice too much because there's a million ways to do it, but I will share this. I will share that I think people really assume that it's the product or the service that makes you successful at business. And I don't think that's true. Mm-hmm. I think the product and the service, of course, have to be good, and they have to be better in some way than something else that's available. And you've got to hit all the points that are important, but that's not the key differentiator. I think there are a lot of businesses, or a lot of, I should say, brands or products that have failed, even though they were perfectly good, because they didn't have the right entrepreneurs or people behind it. So I'm a really big believer that success in business has more to do with people than with products.
Absolutely.
And so, so I think the advice or the guidance I would say is like, try not to focus too much on that part, because the more important part is you. And getting yourself to a place where you bet on yourself. I think being an entrepreneur is all about putting yourself out there in the game, not in the practice, but in the game before you're ready, and watching yourself perform like an athlete. So problems are going to come your way, situations are going to come your way, and you've got to adapt and respond and evolve every day. Get back on that horse. That's what entrepreneurism is. And I think that a lot more people will find success in their lives and fulfillment, more importantly, if they do that. But it's really only for a certain type of person. So I don't try to recommend that everybody does it. It really is only for that person that can't help but cry because they're so unfulfilled, and they want to build something they can be proud of. And then the product will come, because really I think it could be anything. And don't get me wrong, I feel very lucky and passionate about our kombucha. I mean, we're not just slapping a label on a liquid here. This is the best kombucha you can buy, and we put our heart and souls into it. But it was the capability within that came first, and that had to come first. And I think that's the real reason we're successful, is the people, not the product. The product's a key piece, but we wouldn't have that without the people, put it that way.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So for our viewers at home who are not aware of kombucha, what is it and what are the benefits of drinking it? Because I see you have that bottle right in front of you.
Kombucha is fermented tea. So it's naturally rich in probiotics and healthy organic acids. It's bubbly. It's a little bit sweet. It's a little bit tart. You could think about it as a really good replacement to something like a soda. When maybe you don't drink soda now, but maybe when you enjoy a soda, when you're looking for something that's bubbly and tasty and a little treat. The thing about kombucha is it's all those things, but it's actually good for you too. So it's like a better for you version of a soda, or soda you can feel good about drinking is the way I like to think about it. Probiotics and healthy organic acids are good for your gut, but also go beyond your gut. It can improve immunity, energy, metabolism. These are all things that just a healthy gut thing to have an impact on. And so fermented foods overall are known to support that. And kombucha is a fermented food, or fermented drink. So yeah, I would say that for me, I try to drink a kombucha a day, especially right now. For many reasons, not just for, keeping my gut flora healthy, but also like, it's nice to have a treat and it tastes good. It's not just water, like treating yourself a little bit with something that tastes a little bit indulgent that it actually isn't. So for us, it's a daily practice. And I think about it a little bit like a yogurt, except in like drinkable form. Even though it doesn't taste anything like a yogurt, I mean more like it's not a medicine or a drug. It's a food.
Absolutely. And if you guys have not tried it, you guys need to get your hands on it because it's amazing. It's really good for you and definitely refreshing as well. So, okay. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. So from the time that you guys had a thought and an idea and when you knew it was time, when you decided to talk to your husband, your best friend, to actually take the initiative, did you guys, when you decided to go full with building the brand, did you guys have capital already built or saved? Or did you just go all in and then quit your jobs?
Well, not exactly the quitting the jobs part. We waited a little bit on that part. But so, no, it's a good question. And I think one of the things about Justin, Vanessa, and I that makes us, I guess, good at the entrepreneur part is that I really believe you have to jump in before you're ready. Like I talked about being in the game. It's something I say to people all the time. The game is played out there. Like it doesn't matter how perfect you get your label or how perfect you get your blog. Like it doesn't matter until you publish it. It doesn't matter until you get out there. So I always encourage people to get out there before you're ready. I know it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel comfortable, but the truth is, the game is played out there and you're going to have no idea how people are going to respond or what things are going to come your way until you're out there. So we were always very good about that, the three of us. We're kind of turbo mode people. We say yes before we're ready, the three of us. And I think that's what put us in a better position to succeed because we said yes essentially to being in a farmer's market before we even had a product. So basically, yeah, so in our entrepreneur club, we came up with an idea. We were going to make a hair loss prevention product. And it was going to be made from the cultures of kombucha, which you can actually see behind me in this virtual thing. But we were going to use the cultures in kombucha, which like there's some anecdotal evidence to say that it can help your hair regrow. So we were going to use that, create a really high-end premium mask with like avocados and stuff and sell it in the farmer's market to put in your hair or on your scalp. And we got an opportunity to sell at the farmer's market sooner than we expected. So when we called the farmer's market up, they were like, oh, you can have a spot in 3 weeks, but you have to take it now. Like, in other words, you got to say yes now if you want it. And, we weren't going to have our product complete in 3 weeks. There was just no way. And so, but I knew how to make kombucha, a really good kombucha, and we pivoted very quickly. So it's just an example of how we said yes to something. We said yes to the farmer's market before even knowing what we were going to sell. And that sounds crazy to people. It's, well, how are you going to do? But the truth is we figured it out. And look, we turned it into a business.
That's insane. I mean, what I love most is that you guys, you acted on imperfect action. And the fact that that's something that everybody should do. And I feel like oftentimes we all fall short of overthinking and feeling like things have to be perfect before just going out there, trial and error, learning as you go. I think that's pretty amazing. And the fact that you didn't even think, like the plan wasn't even kombucha, first and foremost.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it was more like, yes, we're going to do this and we'll figure it out. Like, I don't care what we sell. We'll sell pencils. We're going to figure it out. And we did, and it turned into a really awesome business. And so that's just another example of how you just got to get out there and figure it out as you go. Because if you were meant to be an entrepreneur and like, there's only one way to know to get out there and do it, you're gonna succeed out there because entrepreneurs are people that think really well on their feet, and they evolve and they adapt and they get back on the horse and they fix it 10% and they fix it another 10% each day. And like over a period of time, you get really good at it and you start to become maybe something you didn't expect. Maybe you're selling a product you didn't expect, but that's not the point. The point is you evolved and adapted, and you eventually get to a place where you create a product that fits a consumer demand. So, you know, we didn't have capital to start. I think we had under $1,000 each for sure. And not a lot of savings. Like, even though we were working good jobs, we didn't have like a house. We couldn't afford a mortgage. We didn't have savings or anything like that. So it was not really in the cards to quit our jobs right away. So we did it for nights and weekends in the beginning. For that whole first year, we sold in farmers markets and worked around the clock, basically, when we didn't have our jobs, to bring HEALTH-ADE to life. And we didn't quit our jobs until the end of the year. So just to give you some sense, we started the business in 2012, which is 8 years ago. And March 26th was the first day we sold the bottle. We didn't quit our jobs till December 26th. So it was almost a full year of working nights, weekends, in between, you know, any break we could get, we were working on HEALTH-ADE. And it basically got to a point where it wasn't that HEALTH-ADE was making enough money to pay us suddenly. That was not the case at all. In fact, it was a very scary move financially because we didn't have savings and we didn't have enough to really like warrant this move of quitting your job. But what we did have is a lot of demand. Like, it was clear that people loved HEALTH-ADE. It was clear there was something with it. We couldn't make enough. It was month after month of not being able to make enough. Like, we were always in a situation that's just like people wanted more and more and more. And we found ourselves at the end of the year being so tired because we were working our jobs and then also trying to build and grow HEALTH-ADE. And we were like, listen, if we're really going to give this dream a shot, we can't, like, there's no more time in the day. So we're going to have to cut something out of the day. And we all agreed it was time to bet on ourselves and really quit. And it was not advised by any of our friends and family. It was very scary. I only had enough money in the bank to pay for 1 month's rent.
Wow.
So it was not like an easy decision at all. But again, we just felt like we got to do this. We have something here. Like, we'll figure it out. And we did. And we did. And it was really hard. You know, for the first 6 months, we were living on $7 a day. You know, it was not an easy beginning by any means.
I love that. And I feel that sometimes within entrepreneurs, there's a misconception where they think just because you're starting a business, a brand, product, or service, that the moment you start making money as an entrepreneur, oh, we should get paid. But you made it perfectly clear, like, for the first couple months to a year, you were living off of pretty much $7 a day, an hour?
Well, for the first year, when we were working in the farmers market, there was no payment for the founders at all. It was just whatever time you got, you put toward HEALTH-ADE, and any money we made at the farmers market went right into buying bottles, labels, caps, you know, grapes that we would juice. So yeah, there was no money then. And then when we quit our jobs and there was no paycheck coming anymore, we were just really careful. Like, I remember we would get like $300 a month or something like that, each from HEALTH-ADE, like not nearly enough to cover living costs. But, you know, basically whenever there was enough cash, like, you know, we paid the raw ingredients, we paid for this, we paid for that. We had enough to like pay for our rent. We would like figure that out, basically. We did that until we got our first investment because there was never enough cash to pay us. So yeah, like once we got our first investment, which happened in 2014, so we lived like that for almost 2 full years.
Wow.
And the business was growing, and it was really funny because people would see us and be like, wow, HEALTH-ADE's like on fire, at least in LA, because we were growing. And I would like look at them and be like, I'm this close to living in my car. And by the way, I would have.
You would have. Was there ever a point where you felt like, especially in those dark times, did you ever feel like throwing in the towel? Like, you know, I can't do this any longer. Like 2 years, that's a long time. So what kept you going in those moments?
So you got to find what keeps you going. For each person, yes, to answer your question, yes, throwing in the towel. I mean, I'll just tell you, that's something that never goes away. To be totally truthful. I mean, it's not that I want to throw in the towel ever or ever wanted to. It's more, I question whether I should, whether what I had was real. You know, there are even moments in our size now where I question whether what I have is real and will continue. So that's it's a feeling you get really familiar with over time. And I think it's very natural and I think it's very healthy actually to be, you know, never be resting on your laurels, never be thinking that it's a sure thing and that you're always going to win or that you're always going to have a strong business. I mean, even in these times right now with the COVID crisis, you know, this is putting a lot of companies in dire straits that weren't before. And, you know, like you can never take things for granted. So I think the feeling that things will not like come your way is a very normal feeling, and get used to it because it doesn't go away. I know that sounds crazy for a brand that's in 30,000 stores, but I still feel it. I still feel like the company could just, you know, obviously I try to build strength around it, but I never take it for granted. So yeah, you know, you know, there are days that really make you want to quit. There's days that you think you can't do it. Especially in the beginning, I think that's really hard in the beginning because in the beginning, there's not a lot of people there to support you. At least now I've got a board, I've got fellow business people, I've got employees. But in the very beginning, you're really alone. And it's like you just got to find it inside yourself to take that next step. I used to say to myself, you know, life is only for the strong, Daina. And that somehow got me motivated to say, well, motherfuckers, I'm strong. Yep. You know, that's what I would say to myself. And I would get myself back in the game and just, you know, you get yourself one foot in front of the other and somehow you're walking again. Mm-hmm. But everybody's different, you know, like Vanessa used to find a lot of solace in, you know, reading, listening to podcasts. Justin used to love to read books. For me, it was a very self-talk type of situation. I used to really have to like get myself motivated back in the game. So you got to kind of find where you get your juice, but don't expect that juice to just be there plentiful all the time. It's always something I have to think about.
Absolutely. And during that time when you decided to go all in and quit your job, were there any, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have to manage your time wisely, right? No one's going to wake you up in the morning and say, you got to get up, you got to go to work. Like at the end of the day, you got to hustle, you got to, you know, show your grit and put everything you want into that business. It's your baby. So yeah, during that time, did you establish any daily rituals or disciplines that helped you, that you were able to carry along your journey that you can share with us?
You know, your daily practices. You know, I don't know if there was a daily practice I adopted. I mean, listen, over time, I've learned that you can't give everything you have to your business. That will turn into its own problem. And so you have to also define what makes you happy and like happy as a whole individual. So like, what is Daina besides the founder of HEALTH-ADE? That was a really important question I had to ask myself at some point in my career with HEALTH-ADE. And then when I did that, I could build a calendar essentially that allowed for me to not just be good at HEALTH-ADE, but also good at those other things that made me happy. And that created a better ecosystem overall, and HEALTH-ADE benefited, and I benefited, and my family benefited. So there's the practice, I think, of the only advice I can say from that is that, you know, you will eventually get to a place where you have to recognize that you are not your business and that there's more to you than that. But usually in the beginning, you are kind of devoting everything, and that's fine and temporary.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there was something specific that I did from a habit perspective. I will share, though, that having like the realization that there is no guidebook, nobody's going to tell you what to do. Nobody can ever tell you that it's going to be okay. The buck really stops with you, like just accepting and surrendering to that. There is no right decision. You never fucking know. You just got to go for it. That's kind of like the best advice I can say is just, you're going to get to so many, you can do your best to make a decision by getting input from people, seeing what other people have done. But at the end of the day, it's your call as a founder, and you just got to get comfortable with being in that lead seat. You might be wrong. It's like that Billy Joel song. You may be wrong for all I know, but you may be right. You just don't know. But you hold you hold the paintbrush, and you're painting that canvas. That's it. Nobody else is doing it. So like, once you get comfortable with that and you realize that like people can have their opinions on what you should do, but you've eventually got to be the one that is in the seat to make the call. And nobody is at fault or can take the credit. Like, right. Whether it's a success or failure, it's all you. And that's just the best realization you can come to as an entrepreneur in the beginning. There is no right way. If I ever publish a book, I'm going to call it, What If I Did It Exactly Right? And the point of it is to share that, like, there is no such thing as exactly right. Like, there's 1,000 infinite ways to do any one thing. So for somebody to tell you that the right way to do it is X or Y, it's just the wrong way to go.
To each
every situation right? is unique. Yeah. And every situation is unique. And you just don't know what's going to work until it works. So you've got to kind of bet on yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. And thank you so much for that. So what are the three main things within the formula that HEALTH-ADE has focused on to be the fastest growing brand within your category?
That's an easy answer. So I'll say the most important last. So first, we have the best product. I think we have the best tasting kombucha you can buy. At least we stop at nothing to make the best tasting kombucha you can buy. So for us, it's definitely product. And second, the next most important, I would say, is brand. People are really inundated with products, brands, messages, marketing. So you got to have something good and something important to say and something inspiring to say. It can't just be nothing. So we've really focused on being a meaningful brand that has emotional messaging and uplifts people's day and is connected to our overall brand ethos. So being a strong brand and something that consumers want to pick up and take a picture of and like carry and are proud of carrying, like that's something you want to try to do. But third and most important is the people. You know, when you get into we're in 30,000 stores now across the U.S. People say, wow, HEALTH-ADE's everywhere. It's because you're such a good kombucha. And I'm like, it's because of the 250 people it's the 250 people that work for me that got it to those stores. Every single person helped get it to the stores, from the people who put the liquid in the bottle, to the cap on the bottle, to getting the distributor pick it up, to getting the materials in place so that the distributor had no answer to say but yes, to the driver that took it to the store. I mean, it's like everybody had to work to get that to happen. And like, it's the team. It's just the team. So if there's another message I would give to an entrepreneur, is there's going to be a point when you have a team. Hopefully, if you continue to have, sales and success, you'll be able to hire people and like treat those people like gold, man. And remember that they need communication and they need to know where you're going. I think, because then they're going to all row in that direction with you, and you can start to grow really fast. We've grown really fast because of that. I mean, most companies that grow really fast go splat. They go boom, splat, because the company can't, the wheels shake and the people don't know how to handle it. But I think that if you take care to be really good to your people and talk to them often and hear them and listen to them often, like, you're going to create a culture of people really wanting to work hard for you. And they're really clear on where they're going, by the way. So you go there faster.
Man, that is really.
So I would say people is the number one reason.
I love that. For all you guys that are listening, people, and it's all about the communication and appreciate your team. And I know, Daina, you're able to see that firsthand, because before you had a team, you guys were the ones that would do all the grunt work, going out there, putting your product on the shelves. And for entrepreneurs who have a product in mind, what advice can you give them when it comes to getting their product on a shelf at a retailer store? Like, for you guys had the opportunity at a farmer's market, but now you're at 30,000 stores, but how long did it take you to get there? Like, it's not as easy as it seems, right?
No, I would say the opposite of easy is what it was. Yeah, I mean, it's one step, it's one step in front of the other. There's a great quote, I'm going to butcher it, but the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul said it. You can drive all the way from LA to New York, never seeing more than 20 feet ahead with your headlights. And I think it's the same thing for business. Like, you just got to get one foot in front of the other, one step at a time. You might have a vision for what that staircase looks like. You're wrong. That's just the reality. You're wrong. Everybody's wrong about that, because there's no way to know. But the next few steps ahead of you are clear, wherever you are. So, like, if the person that started HEALTH-ADE were to come into my brewery today, because we have a huge brewery now in Torrance, California. It's beautiful. It's running right now, thank goodness. If I were to take the Daina that started HEALTH-ADE in the very beginning and bring her into that brewery, she might even be so discouraged to not even start HEALTH-ADE, because she would see that brewery and be like, I have no idea about manufacturing. How am I going to build a 50,000 square foot brewery with a pressure to hit certain cost of goods and continuous improvement, and like I wouldn't even know what to do. There's so much machinery in there. And the truth is, though, I didn't need to know that then. Then all I needed to know was, how am I going to get product from my kitchen where I'm brewing it to the farmer's market? And then, that wasn't enough. Our kitchen wasn't big enough. We needed more space. So then I explored new spaces. Okay, I have option A, option B, option C. Which one seems right? I picked the one that seemed right. That was the next step, and then the next step. And we've had like 8 steps, just talking about our brewery alone. We've had like 8 steps to get here. And each step was clear at that moment of which one I was going to take, for the most part. I didn't have to see the 8th step. And I think if I were to look ahead now, 10 years, gosh, I'm not going to be brewing it in Torrance, California, in the same brewery I'm going to be in. I know that. What it looks like, though, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Like, I'll get there. And so the advice I would give is, just trust that you've got the capability and you've got everything you need to make the decisions that are right in front of you to get you ultimately up, all the way up the staircase. But right now, you just got to see 10 feet ahead. And if you're just looking 10 feet ahead, what you got in front of you? What are you going to do? And those to me that's the best sort of horse blinders you can put on yourself, because you don't want to forget about the big vision. I've never forgotten that we want to be in every fridge in America, every fridge in America, every fridge in America. That's like a real powerful vision, but I still don't know exactly how I'm going to get there. But I know what my next step is. So I don't know if that helps answer,
No,
but
absolutely. So what would you say? So since the launch and the start of HEALTH-ADE, what has been your biggest challenge to date?
oh, it's hard to say. Hard to say what the biggest challenge would be. I mean, it's just all challenge. Literally, all it means to be an entrepreneur is like nonstop problems. From the moment you start your day to the moment you put your head on the pillow, it's basically nonstop problems. You might get a little glisten of positivity here and there, but it's usually intertwined with a problem or a challenge. So, you know, get used to the challenges. That's all it is. It's just a day of challenges. And, you know, how quickly you evolve is basically how quickly you take on the challenges. It's really that simple. Not easy, but simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, biggest challenge, probably manufacturing is a really big challenge. Just, you know, not just the fact that I didn't have the knowledge or that I don't have the knowledge. It's also that manufacturing is so expensive. You need the capital equipment to build products, and manufacturing, and you're always behind. Like, it takes a year, 2 years to build a manufacturing site. Like what you're seeing behind me in this virtual scene. I don't know if everybody can see it, but this is our brewery. This is like our 2.0 brewery. Now it looks completely different. This is like old school. But when we moved into this place, we were like, whoa, this is like game changing, right? Because before this, we were like in a tiny closet. So, you know, now if you saw it, it would look like it's 28 feet high and like all this kombucha everywhere. It's like just nuts. So I guess my point in saying all this is, wait, I've kind of lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Oh, that one, I think we were talking about challenges, your biggest challenge.
Okay, yeah. So manufacturing, so you're always behind. So when it's time for me, so when I knew this space behind me was too small or like not big enough, not enough to supply to the demand, I then have to build the next place. Well, the next place is going to cost $10 million to build. What? How am I going to get $10 million? And the next place is going to take 2 years to build out. What? Right. So that's like, you're always kind of behind and you need capital to constantly manufacture. So I'd say manufacturing has probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, so it's definitely forecasting, right? And planning ahead. So do you feel like, knowing what you know now, do you recommend and suggest people that maybe maybe they don't have the capital, maybe they have a little bit of a cushion for savings, do you recommend they get investors? Like, if you could do it all over again, would you have done it that way?
Again, there's a million ways to do it type of question. So I'll just say that it all depends on how many options you have, what you should do. And, you know, you have to recognize that not everybody has the same options. So for us, we didn't have any money. We had no assets. Nobody would give us a loan. We had no choice. To grow, we had to get investment. There was no other way. We could have stayed where we were at the farmers markets and just waited and gotten each dollar, right, profit until we could buy the next brewery. But I could tell you that would have taken twice as long. There's no way we would have been able to grow 8 years like this. In 8 years, we wouldn't have been able to grow to a, you know, national brand with 30,000 stores. There's no way. So so would I have done it again? I could never tell you that because I don't know. It's the only option we had because we wanted to grow. There are other ways though, and it's important to look at all those ways and then decide for yourself. So obviously the pro of having capital behind you with investors is that you can grow. And that's a lot of fun in one respect. The con to that is you're giving away a portion of your company, and therefore you're bringing new owners onto the table. So now you've got new stakeholders, and that will grow and make things more complex. And also that growth comes with, you know, if you're growing 4 times what's normal, you've got 4 times the problem.
Yeah, of course.
Basically.
Absolutely.
And so you're dealing now with a way, you know, more intense life. So that's one avenue. Another avenue you can consider is, are you able to get debt? Can you get a small business loan? Are you able to try to get some cash from friends and family without giving away equity right away? That wasn't an option for us in the beginning. So, you know, it may or may not be an option, but that's a good one because you don't have to give up ownership right away and you might be able to get some cash to grow. So that's a good one to explore if you have it. Another option is to go the 100% profitable route if you can do it, which is, you know, just slow and steady wins the race. You know, just make a buck each day, and after 365 days, you'll have 365 bucks, and you can buy something with that 365 bucks that maybe will help you grow a little bit more. So that way is a little bit slower usually, but it's safe and it's very sturdy. And in times like this, companies like that are very happy they made the moves they did. So again, all three options are options, not always options to all, and you have to sort of explore all three. So would I do it again differently? Well, yeah, because this time I have probably access to capital. So if I could do it again now, I probably would get debt first before I got investors. But I like to grow. I'm a turbo mode type of person. I don't think I ever could go the slow and steady wins the race route. That's just not me.
I love that. Thank you so much. So 8 years in, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
You have everything you need.
That's powerful.
I think I constantly looked around me at people that had more success than me. And I would say, like, oh, they know this or they know that, or they have something I don't. And there was a realization I had somewhere in the 8 years where, oh no, they're just like you. They've got some strengths, they've got some weaknesses, but they work really freaking hard and they get out. The thing that they do best, I feel like the thing that successful people do best is they get out of their head. And they know what they're good at and they know what they're not good at, and they like apply that in the world around them. They put themselves in positions to win and they supplement and complement where they need it, you know, with other people, and that's how they succeed. And once I've sort of realized that and I've effectively led that way, I look back and I'm like, wait, I had this all along. It's not like anything new. It's not like I got it, I didn't buy it, I didn't learn it. I always had this. I always had these strengths. I always had these weaknesses. So it kind of made me realize, like, wow, I had this leader in me the whole time. It just took me 8 years to really find her. And so I would love to go back to that girl and just be like, here's what you're good at. Here's what you're not. You already know that. And that's not going to change. And by the way, everybody around you has things they're good at and not good at. So just like go out there and give it your best shot. And like, there's nothing wrong with being confident.
Focus on your strengths and delegate what you're not good at, right? That's what you have a team.
Yeah.
So what is next for HEALTH-ADE?
So I'm still on that path to bring HEALTH-ADE to every fridge in America. That's still up for me, up ahead for me. You know, I'm hoping that doesn't just mean kombucha. I'm hoping we can think about HEALTH-ADE beyond just kombucha, but kombucha will always be a part of the portfolio. And yeah, just trying to bring better for you beverages to every fridge in America with that anchor. And then me personally, I've still got a lot of work to do, and I feel like I'm like a quarter of the way through the lifelong marathon of learning and becoming a better CEO. I try to do that all the time. So I still got a lot of growth on both sides, the business and the personal, up ahead.
That's pretty awesome. And how have you guys been doing with the whole COVID-19? Have you guys been affected at all?
Of course. Yeah, every business has been affected, you know, whether in different ways. So for us, HEALTH-ADE luckily is deemed an essential food business. So it is we're allowed to manufacture at this time, which is really great. So we're very careful though. So obviously the things that we've had to do are really change our protocols and precautions to try to keep our employees safe. But we've been successful at that, and happy to report that our manufacturing remains open and we're able to supply groceries still. And then because we sell in grocery, mostly in grocery, there's been a real increased demand for kombucha actually and for HEALTH-ADE, because I think people know fermented foods support immunity. So, as they're trying to do their best to keep themselves strong, they're grabbing things like fruits and vegetables and fermented foods like kombucha more. And I think that's certainly why I've upped my drinking habit, I would say, during the day this week and last week myself. So we're experiencing a bit of an increase in sales, and very grateful for that, but also trying to be really long-term minded. Like, I don't know if that will continue. I don't know how that will continue. So I'm trying to build as many contingency plans right now as possible for a business so that I'm prepared no matter how the future looks. So that's it. And then we're trying to so like 5,000 cases just last week to doctors and nurses around LA that are working around the clock and could use a treat.
That's
so just kind of shifting our efforts to, help in any way we can as a business. So it's impacted though. I mean, it's all I talk about. I feel like COVID is 80% of my day right now.
I know, man. Tell me about it. Well, I really want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the Unbreakables podcast and sharing your incredible story. And if you can, just tell our viewers where they can contact you, whether it's social media, YouTube, website.
Cool. By the way, I love the name of your podcast, The Unbreakables.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because that's it. The people who make it all the way are the ones that just didn't fucking break down. That's it.
Against all
They
odds,
just kept
right?
going. Yeah, they just kept going. They just kept getting up and kept doing it. It's really, I think it's more about persistence than anything else.
Absolutely. And I feel like your story really, really struck a chord in my heart, because I've kind of been in a situation where I feel like I'm in that position where I was in corporate America for 9 years. I have formal education, but I kind of just had that tug and that pull in my heart for the past year, where I said there's something bigger, there's a bigger calling upon my life, and it's not necessarily what society wants me to do. And then out of nowhere, we get hit with COVID-19. And my company is one of the biggest medical device companies in the world. We have like literally over 70 locations.
Wow.
And they just started laying off people, putting people on furlough. And unfortunately, it's one of those things. I was put on furlough as well recently. And it's one of those things where people would always say, when are you going to jump, Jess? When are you going to jump? When are you going to go all in? And I've been working day and night, with my day job and then my podcast. I have a studio here in Long Beach to grind because I'm extremely passionate about it. But it's one of those things. If I wasn't going to quit, they were going to put me out some way, somehow.
Yeah. No, right. It's a way that
it's weird.
Yeah, good for you. Well, listen, when a door closes, another opens. And I think listen, when we started thinking we were going to make a hair loss product, we could have been really depressed when it didn't work out, right? Like, that's the point. You've got to look at things as opportunities, not as dead ends. And that really is going to be the difference in someone like you versus someone who, sheds too many tears about it. It's like totally, there's, it's Justin, my husband, always says to me, whenever some news